Hello, dividend executives. Welcome back. The stock market is closed today, but my gosh, we had an absolute volatile week. We took a couple of punches, but I want to talk about what I'm going to be doing next week now that we have been assigned some shares. We went from an account that was heavily in stocks all the way back to cash. Now we're back to stocks, and so we're just going to complete another wheel cycle, right? So we have some shares in the account. We have some shares of MSTU. We got assigned some shares of ETHU after not being able to get some roles to fill. And then we got assigned some shares of Hood. I could have rolled them all down and out, but I just decided, you know what? I think we're closer-ish to a bounce here. And so I want to take a little bit of bet there. And then we had some TSLL puts expire worthless, which gives us about $4,500 worth of buying power. So we have some puts and some calls that are going to be sold next week. So let's jump into it a little bit. But first, full transparency as always. This is what happened last week, right? So we ended up rolling an ETHU put last week for $127 credit. We rolled it from the 74 down to the 70. And then we had a deposit of 35. We sold a Hood put for $128. We sold TSLL puts for $39. We bought some odd lot shares because I knew we were going to be getting assigned. So we bought 10 shares of ETHU at the $48.30. And then we bought 5 shares of Hood at $104. TSLL puts expired worthless. Got assigned some Hood shares at the 110 strike. So that was $11,000. And then ETHU at 70. So that was $7,000. So we spent a nice $18,000 on Friday. And now we have some shares in the account, right? So it's time to wheel and deal it. 22,000 for the week. We got beat up, down about 5% for the month. We are now down 5%. 3 months, still up 11%. Year to date, still up 60%. 1 year, still up 69% or 9,024. And then all time since we started the account, up 159% or 13,570. So we got beat up, and now it's time to fight back and sell some covered calls in this market. ETHU has been absolutely bodied over the last couple of months. It's gone from 140 down to what are we at, 50 now. So we've had some record-breaking numbers pulling back on the crypto side of things. The market's been weak, and we're gonna now flip it and sell some calls. So buying power 4,512, contribution 1,635. And we've been trying to sell the same MSTU 2.5 calls for $5, and we have not got any fills there. So we're just sitting on those shares for now. They're sitting at $1.18. Hood sitting at 108.90. And then the biggest one you can see the pullback on is ETHU, now down to $50.50. And it went down 23% over the past week. So pretty wild. When we rolled it, we were out of the money, and now we are deep in the money. And so what do we have to do? Well, we have to trade some options. So if we go to trade options, we look at November 28th and we look at the call volume. If we're selling at the money, obviously we can collect 210 there. Because our cost basis is so high, more than likely we're going to have to sell calls under our cost basis. If we got caught in the money, we have the odd lots to sell if we need to, or we can end up rolling up and out. Great problem to have if we end up getting there. But there's still some good premium on the stock. And the volume's still pretty good. You can see volume at the 62 strike at the 0.18 delta is sitting at 156. So still decent there, paying $70 for the week if we were to go with that. We can go up to the 65. Still good volume at the 83 at a 0.14 delta. $50 there. And if I were to guess the bid ask, yeah, look at the bid ask there. So the bid ask is between 50 and 110. The last trade was at 70. So we could still collect $70. And we, again, for $7,000, if we collect 70, that's still 1% for the week. Of course, this is under our cost basis, so if we end up getting in the money, we'll end up having to roll it, but it would take a nice run there. And then if we go a little bit further up the chain to the 70 strike, which is where we were signed, not including any call premiums, put premiums, you can see the last trade here was 38. So on the lower side, if we wanted to go super safe and we were thinking we were going to have a 20-30% week, then we could go at the 70. So that's what we'll be looking. Hopefully we get a nice pop over the weekend on Bitcoin or on Ethereum, and we could sell some calls into some strength. But it just depends on what happens this weekend. Sometimes we get a nice pop on Monday. Hopefully going into the short week, we can get some nice premium. But it is a reminder, short day on Thursday next week. No, stock market is closed on Thursday for Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to anybody that celebrates it. And then Friday, we have a half-day market And so premiums are going to be less juicy because of that, less days in the market. And so that's one thing to keep in mind when you're selling your calls. If we look at Hood, a little bit better picture, right? Our Hood, we have 105 shares, bought some odd lots. So the cost basis is 109.72. And we were paid, 128 to buy these shares. So we're in the green, obviously, on this one. But we can make some nice premium here. If we were to try to wheel this, and let's say we wanted to go with the 112 strike, we could open up nice on Monday and we could get even more premium, or we could open up down on Monday and get less premium. But still, even at the 112 strike, if we sold that, we're collecting $200 on the call side. If we get called away, that's another 200 share appreciation, making it $400 for the week if we do get called away. Or we can go further up the chain, right? If we want to do like the 114 at the 140, we can get $140 for the, which is over 1% for the week, plus potential of $400 in share appreciation. So that's what we'll be looking to do on the Hood shares. And then we'll probably end up doing something like TSLL. I don't know. There's not really any stocks I can do non-leveraged for the amount of capital we have, the 4,500. We could look at something like Bull. We could look at Rivian again, but it's still up in the 14s. And I like that better in the 11s and 12 range. We could look at EOSE or potentially AI, but it just depends. SoFi is still a little bit out of our reach. So it depends what the market looks like on Monday. We'll probably end up ripping off some puts and some calls on Monday and collecting some income. So that's where we're sitting at there. Full transparency, count took a beating, but we're still up 159% all time. So not too bad. When we jump into the spreadsheet, lots of assignments, right? We're still looking really good for the month. We're still above that $22,000 mark in the account, which was our ultimate goal. Well, our first goal was 18,184, and we beat that. And but you never know, if the market keeps pulling back, we could get back to that. And then the next goal we set was at the 22,000, and we're sitting right at that. So we're still looking good in terms of those. We've had a pullback, obviously, in November. We've still collected $921 worth of premium. 31 in the first week, 720 in the last week, and then 167 this week. Next week is our last week of the month, and I think we can still do pretty good. If we can pull in, I think, depending on how aggressive we go with Hood, if we can pull in 250 to end the month, with it put us into the four-figure numbers, I would not be too upset about that. When it comes to where our stocks are making money, right? MSTX has been the money printer for us this year. Rivian as well, TSLL, and Hood is almost to the four-figure club. Once we sell calls on Monday, we should have a nice four-figure position there. If we end up, for some reason, opening up super green on Monday for Hood and we get into the 112 range, I might take a look at maybe just selling the shares and then selling an aggressive put again, just to de-risk or to change it up. But we'll see what it looks like on Monday at open. So far this year, 84 puts, 23 calls, and this is how we're looking for the entire year, right? Not too bad of returns total, and we just have 5 weeks left in the year to get it done. Just under $10,000 worth of options premium collected, just over $1,200 of capital gains, and we've taken the balance from $11,740 to roughly that $22,000 mark right now. A lot of things could change now. When we're in full cash and we're selling cash secure puts, it's really only going to change by how those options change. But when we own shares, I mean, this account could be at $25,000 by the end of the week, or it could be at $20,000 by the end of the week. So it's just going to move a little bit more now that we own some more. But we will keep bringing the premium in, and we will continue to will and deal in and out of stock. So that's where we're sitting as of right now. 47 weeks into the year, averaging $201.36 a week. Average capital in use, $16,709. Setting ourselves up nice for next year, and we're at 1.21%. So really good. Even if we ended at this part this year, we still doubled the account, taking it from 11,000 to 22,000. And I love watching this, right? If you look at 2024 in the white, the totals of all of the balances, and then 2025, you can see that the purple bars are much larger than the white bars, and we're hoping that next year when we set this up, we can get even more, right? So that's where we're sitting as of right now in the account. Count is slowly but surely building. The goal next month will be 525 when it comes to options income. So we're going to need that 100 and some change each and every single week. And we're just going to slowly keep on building. So full transparency as always, got beat up this week. We're going to continue fighting next week, continue selling calls, bringing in the options premium, taking that and using that firepower to sell even more puts and potentially even buying more shares. If we get a further dip in Hood, we might end up buying some more odd lot shares there as well in the event that we have a nice pullback. So that's where we're sitting as of right now. Up and to the right is the only goal. Sometimes, you have a little bit of up and down in between, but I think these are solid companies. Obviously, ETH is more of a momentum play when it comes to crypto, but Robinhood, I don't really care what price I own this at. I think over the years, especially with this being an IRA, I think this will pan out really well. They're down 12% over the past week and down 15% over the past month, but we were as high as $150 back in October. So over the last 22 days, this stock has come down, $40 a share. And so pretty nice discount if you were looking to pick up a position in this company anyway. So appreciate everybody as always. Happy investing, and we'll catch you next time.